There are many countries with unique and strange traditions, but there is one place in the world where every spring a very controversial event is held. A dark market where dozens of women are paraded in front of hundreds of suitors. Bulgaria, one of the least known countries, but also one of the most fascinating and controversial countries on the old continent. A country with surprising traditions, like the fact that every spring in a city called Stara Zagora, a controversial market is held where young Romani girls are paraded to become the wives of the suitor who makes the best offer. A country older than Rome, where vampire graves have been discovered very close to a cursed village, with unique things like being the oldest and cheapest country in Europe, having invented and owned the best yogurt in the world, or where the oldest treasure in history was found. Perhaps one of the most mysterious countries in the world, not only because of its rich history and traditions, but also because it is the birthplace of Baba Vanga, the legendary blind prophet from the age of 12, considered by many to be the most accurate prophet of all time, even surpassing Nostradamus. Today we will explore Bulgaria, and now let's get started. Geographical location. Located in southeastern Europe, Bulgaria is a country with a rich history and fascinating cultural diversity that is often overlooked by many. Although less well known than many of its neighbors, Bulgaria has a lot to offer the adventurous traveler. Famous for its dramatic mountain scenery, Bulgaria has a diverse geography that includes majestic mountains, fertile valleys, and stunning beaches along the Black Sea coast. It is also home to the highest mountain in the Balkans, Mount Musala at 2,925 meters, attracting hikers and nature lovers from all over the world. The climate in Bulgaria varies depending on the region and season, with warm summers and cold winters. The Rila and Pirin Mountains are popular skiing and snowboarding destinations in the winter, while the Black Sea coast is the perfect place to relax in the sun in the summer. The name Bulgaria comes from the ancient Bulgar tribe that lived in the area since ancient times. Over the centuries, Bulgaria has been influenced by many different cultures and civilizations, creating a rich cultural heritage that is reflected in its architecture, cuisine, and traditions. Long history. One thing that few people know about the history of this fascinating country is that Bulgaria is one of the oldest countries in Europe and existed as an organized state long before the founding of Rome, as the roots of the region and its people date back thousands of years. In fact, remains of Thracian civilizations that lived on these lands have been found dating back to the Bronze Age, centuries before the Roman expansion began. This makes Bulgaria a true historical treasure whose legacy continues to influence Europe to this day. But Bulgaria's antiquity lies not only in its people and traditions, but also in its wine, which is one of the oldest in the world. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Thracians, the ancestors of the Bulgarians, were producing wine over 6,000 years ago, long before the Roman Empire was founded. The region was an important center of ancient wine culture, and it is believed that the Thracians were the first to introduce the tradition of offering wine during religious ceremonies. Today, Bulgaria remains a renowned wine-producing country, inheriting a tradition that has lasted for millennia. This combination of thousands of years of history and vibrant culture makes Bulgaria a must-see destination for lovers of historical secrets and authentic experiences. Who would have thought that such ancient and fascinating stories could lie behind this small Balkan country? Are ancient vampires real? Perhaps many of its inhabitants did, as some truly surprising and mysterious facts have been uncovered in Bulgaria. One of the most curious and controversial discoveries is that of the so-called vampire graves, which have turned up in some parts of the country during archaeological excavations. Experts have found human remains buried with wooden stakes driven into their hearts, a practice that, according to historians, was done to prevent the dead from rising from the grave as vampires. These rituals date back to the Middle Ages, although some of the discoveries are much more recent, which has fueled the belief that the vampire legends may have some truth to them. Bulgaria's connection to vampires doesn't end there. The country is considered one of the main centers of vampire lore in Europe, along with Transylvania in Romania. In some rural areas, ancient rituals are still practiced to protect families from Nosferatu, as they are known in the Balkans. There are even historical accounts of trials of people accused of vampirism. What's most disturbing is that the archaeologists who discovered these graves believe that the locals performed these rituals not out of superstition, but out of a genuine fear that something terrible was happening. Regardless, Bulgaria is full of places and legends that feed this mystery, making it a great place for lovers of the mysterious and the supernatural. There are so many mysterious and supernatural stories that we could make many more videos of, but among them, perhaps one of the most surprising even to locals, is the story of the ghost village of Kovachev. The village of Kovachev, located in the Rhodopes Mountains, near the graves of the suspected vampires you already know, is famous for its centuries-old stone houses and an eerie, lonely atmosphere that seems to have come straight out of a horror story. Although it is also a tourist destination today, many people claim that this ghost village is haunted. Stories tell of figures appearing in the windows of abandoned houses, many of which have only been spotted in photos, or strange lights moving through the surrounding forests at nightfall. The most famous legend tells of a family who disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a set table and an open door as if something had forced them to leave so suddenly. Some also claim to have heard whispers in unknown languages as they walked along the ancient cobblestone streets at dusk, while others say they saw shadows that followed them until they left the village. The truth is that the ghost village of Kovachev continues to nurture the mysterious legends that define Bulgaria. Before we continue, we have a small request. If you like this content, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like this video. More than 80% of people watch videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but helps us a lot. So please click the subscribe button. Thank you very much for subscribing. Now let's get back to the next content. Gypsy traditions. Perhaps few people know that, right on the civilized and modern European continent, there still exists a special community that bears the traces of hundreds of years of nomadism. The Romani people, often called gypsies. Although the name reminds us of Romania, their origins lie in northern India, from the remote region of Rajasthan, and over the centuries they migrated to Eastern Europe, concentrated in Romania, Bulgaria, and gradually spread across the continent. Today, there are an estimated 8 million Romani people worldwide, and what makes them different is their lifestyle associated with freedom, ancient traditions, and strange customs, including the controversial wife market custom. Although they live together with other ethnic groups, they still have difficulty integrating, because their values, life concepts, and ways of maintaining their community are often contrary to common social norms. Perhaps that is why the gypsies are both curious and prejudiced, becoming a unique but complex piece in the European cultural picture. Old prophet Baba Vanga and her creepy prophecies, probably the most famous gypsy or Romani woman on the planet, and certainly the most famous in Bulgaria, is the elderly prophetess Baba Vanga. For many, she is considered the most important prophet in modern history, even surpassing Nostradamus. Despite her humble origins and having lived most of her life in a small village, her name has transcended borders, becoming a mysterious figure whose prophecies have aroused fascination and anxiety in millions of people around the world. Baba Vanga was born in Strumica, a town that in her time was part of the Ottoman Empire, and today belongs to North Macedonia. but at the time was directly influenced by Bulgaria. However, her family had Bulgarian roots, which connected her identity with Bulgarian culture and led many to consider her Bulgarian as well. From a very young age, her life was marked by tragedy. She lost her mother as a child, and soon after, her father, a Bulgarian political activist, was arrested several times for ideological reasons. However, the event that changed her fate occurred when she was just over 10 years old. A dust storm that, according to witnesses, seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, suddenly struck her while she was playing in the fields. The wind lifted her into the air and dragged her for several meters, leaving her severely injured and almost blind. This experience marked her forever, and it was then that her premonitions about the future began. Although her blindness was a devastating shock, many claim that the change in her life awakened in her a special sensitivity to the supernatural world. Being of Romani origin, Baba Vanga was familiar with some of the mystical practices of this community, such as divination through natural elements. Over time, her reputation began to spread throughout the neighboring villages. People came to her house to seek advice, healing, and answers to their everyday problems. However, over time, her premonitions became broader and encompassed global events that would mark history. Among the prophecies that made her famous around the world were the death of Stalin, the sinking of the Russian submarine Kursk, and the 9/11 attacks. Her followers also claimed that she had predicted the onset of a global pandemic. Her prophecies, which ranged from natural disasters to political conflicts, led to her being known as the Nostradamus of the Balkans. Bulgarian women often take their husband's surname when they get married. Among Bulgarians, one of the most common traditions is that Bulgarian women often take their husband's surname when they get married. For example, if a Bulgarian woman named Maria Ivanova, a common first and last name in the country, marries a Bulgarian man named Mikhail Petrov, she will become Maria Petrova, adding the suffix "a" to her husband's surname, which is the feminine form of surnames. Certainly, for many people, this may seem like a male-dominated custom, but since it is not mandatory, we can consider it a relic of what happened decades ago. Nodding and shaking your head back from the rest of the world. One of the strangest things that will definitely catch your attention if you travel to Bulgaria is that in this country, they nod and shake their heads in the opposite way to the rest of the world. That is, they say yes, while their head makes a negative gesture, and when they say no, the head gesture is affirmative. You can try it now by saying out loud, for example, "I love it," while shaking your head, or vice versa, saying "I disagree" while nodding. If you have tried it, leave a comment telling us how you feel about this experience. Hehehe. Comment below telling us where you are watching from and what time it is. We would love to know how far our video has come. Now, onto the video. I think you guys will quite like this part. It is really fascinating. Archaeological site dating back to the Bronze Age. Few people expect that in the peaceful land of Bulgaria today, there is hidden one of the oldest evidences of human civilization. The Varna Necropolis, an archaeological site dating back to the Bronze Age. This place is not just a cemetery, but also a door opening to the glorious past of mankind, with discoveries that have shocked the entire archaeological world. In the ground, people found the Varna treasure, a collection of gold, copper, and precious stones determined to be more than 7,000 years old, even older than the Egyptian pyramids. These artifacts not only have material value, but also reflect the sophistication, manufacturing techniques, and desire for power of a culture that once existed brilliantly since the dawn of history. When standing in front of that treasure, we seem to touch the breath of time, to see that people at any stage always aspire to leave an immortal mark for posterity. History of yogurt And speaking of antiquities, there is also the history of yogurt, which is said to have been created in Bulgaria. Although not as ancient as the Varna treasures, yogurt has a history that stretches back thousands of years. It is said that the Bulgarians were the first to discover the lactic fermentation process that produces yogurt. And since then, Bulgarian yogurt has been praised around the world for its unique taste and health benefits. In fact, Bulgaria almost every year wins the world's best yogurt award, reflecting their traditions and experience in producing this food. So if you like yogurt, do not hesitate to visit Bulgaria, one of the best places in the world to enjoy it. Capital of Bulgaria. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria, a country and capital that is now part of the European Union, but a few decades ago it belonged to the Soviet Union before it collapsed. This fact seems to have a lot to do with Bulgaria's present, as it now seems frozen in time. Its streets, trains, and buildings look like a Soviet city. It is a very small city, certainly very similar to a miniature Moscow. Traditional bridal market. Few would expect that in modern Europe there exists a custom as controversial as the Romani bride market in the city of Stara Zagora, Bulgaria, where every spring one witnesses a scene both strange and controversial. This is the occasion when young girls of the Romani Kalaiji community, a small branch of about 18,000 people, appear in their colorful traditional costumes, parading before young men and their families, waiting for marriage proposals. The bride price here is not a symbolic figure, but a real one, ranging from 10,000 to 50,000, depending on the family and the value they place on their daughter. To many outsiders, this is an unbelievable, even anachronistic image, but for the Kalaiji Romani community, it is one of the most important events of the year, both preserving tradition and reflecting the struggle to survive of a people long marginalized in European society. In fact, their origins are tied to the ancient craft of bronze crafting. But as this gradually disappeared, they clung to customs such as the bride market as a way to affirm their identity, even though it brought them no small amount of criticism and prejudice from the outside world. Surely the misfortunes and hardships of these Kalaiji families must be truly bitter when parents encourage their daughters to sell themselves to the highest bidder in these markets. Low cost of living. It's hard to believe that a country can possess the world's most precious, liquid gold and also be known as the place with the cheapest cost of living in Europe. But Bulgaria is a living proof of that paradox. Located in the Valley of Roses, which supplies 85% of the world's roses each year, this country is considered the capital of the rose oil industry, an ingredient that costs more than 10,000 euros per liter and is used in the most expensive bottles of perfume. However, when leaving the splendid flower fields, daily life in Bulgaria is simple and surprisingly cheap. A cup of coffee in Sofia costs less than €1, while a cold beer in a bar rarely exceeds €2. Even in the center of the capital, you can completely rent a one-bedroom apartment for only about 250 to 300 euros per month, a price that surprises many Europeans. It is the combination of low costs, scenic landscapes, and a slow pace of life that makes Bulgaria a destination not only for tourists, but also for the digital nomad community who are looking for a free but frugal lifestyle to work while enjoying the peaceful beauty here. Hidden wonders. There are lands whose beauty is not only revealed on the outside, but also hides secrets that surprise anyone who has ever set foot there. And Bulgaria is one of them. Besides the strange stories about history and people, this country also possesses rare natural wonders, from the majestic mountains and forests to the brilliant Black Sea coast. The most prominent is the God's Eye Cave, a giant sculpture created by nature, with a stone ceiling with 2 round holes like the mysterious gaze of a supernatural being. Standing inside the cave, you feel like you are drawn into a mysterious world where light shines through two giant eyes, creating an unforgettable, surreal scene. For outdoor adventurers, Bulgaria's majestic mountains provide a paradise for hikers, skiers, and wildlife enthusiasts. From the Balkan Mountains to the impressive Pirin and Rhodope Mountains, there are countless routes to explore and landscapes to admire in the country. And perhaps one of Bulgaria's greatest natural treasures to explore is the Bulgarian Black Sea coast, with its golden beaches, crystal-clear waters, and vibrant resorts. Destinations such as Sunny Beach and Golden Sands are popular with tourists looking to relax and enjoy the sun and sea. Additionally, the Bulgarian coast is filled with charming fishing villages and historic cities that offer a rich cultural experience by the sea. Is this a country worth visiting? We have come to the end of this enigmatic journey through fascinating Bulgaria, a country full of history, mystery, and natural beauty. After discovering so many secrets and oddities, you are surely wondering how to best enjoy this place without breaking the bank. The good news is that Bulgaria is considered by many to be the most economical and cheapest country in Europe, making it an ideal choice for those looking for a unique experience without spending a fortune. Traveling to Bulgaria is fairly easy. Sofia Airport in the capital is the main airport, and there are direct flights to many European cities. Visa requirements vary depending on the country of origin. But citizens of the European Union, the United States, Canada, and others do not need a visa for short stays, usually up to 90 days. However, it is always a good idea to check the specific requirements for your country of origin before you travel. Once in Bulgaria, getting around the country is easy and affordable. The public transport system is efficient, with trains, buses, and trams connecting major cities and tourist destinations. There are also taxi options, and for those who want more flexibility, car rental is an affordable option. Train and bus tickets are quite cheap compared to other European destinations. When it comes to accommodation, Bulgaria has options for every taste and budget. You will find private rooms in budget hotels at very reasonable prices, depending on the season and location. For those looking for a more social atmosphere or a more affordable option, shared hostels are also a great option. Local food is also very affordable, and enjoying dinner at a traditional restaurant won't cost you a fortune. As for drinks, you can enjoy a good beer at a local bar for very reasonable prices. In addition to being an economic destination, Bulgaria is also a very safe country for tourists, with a relatively low crime rate and a population that is known for its friendliness and hospitality. You will be able to enjoy your vacation without any worries. With all this information, you can explore and experience Bulgaria to the fullest, without worrying about your budget and with the peace of mind that you are in a safe place. Every journey has an end, so our exploration ends here. If you want to continue exploring countries like Russia, Uzbekistan, Bhutan, or small countries in Southeast Asia like Vietnam, Philippines, Laos, Thailand, please visit our channel to learn interesting things in other countries. Because videos with many likes are always prioritized, if you find this video interesting, please like, leave a comment, and share them with your loved ones so that our channel can grow, and from there will be the motivation for us to create more interesting and attractive videos about countries. Now goodbye, and see you again in the next videos. Sincerely thank you, and see you again.